Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Super excited to be here this morning. Excuse me. We'll see how long the voice lasts. Excited to finally be here after, what was it, 2 weeks? Yeah, it's been a long time. So excited to be here. Lots to cover. We'll talk about my newest, latest, and greatest deal. Lots of fun to be had today. So excited for that. Yeah, we'll get into it, have some fun. Excuse me, go through some numbers. I talked about how we're going to get how I'm going to double the profit on my latest deal. I'll walk you guys through those numbers because I know we like to do deep deal dives. And yeah, have some fun today. So yeah, super excited to be here. Yeah, I will be a little bit foggy today, that I can promise you. Still getting over the great health event. That was not as much fun as I thought it would be. I'm just kidding. I didn't think it was going to be fun. Yeah, still a little mushy up here. Yeah, I'm back. I'm in the chair, and we're going to go as long as we possibly can today. So we will see how long the brain holds up and how long the voice holds up. So we will see. But let's jump into some hellos and good mornings. And then we'll start talking. And then you guys, as you know, you guys can start loading me up with questions. So let's see. So before we get into some ground rules, if you're new to the show, super excited to have you here. I've got contractors working in the field today. So if you see me look down at my phone, I'm not trying to be rude, but I got to make sure that they have what they need, or if they run into any issues, that they can let me know what issues they're running into, and I can give them feedback on how I want to handle it. So you might see me glance down at my phone. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah, that's basically that. So you will see that I'll look down at my phone because I got people out there in the world doing work right now for some of these new buildings. So yeah, that's about it. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the lumberjack landlord. I own a little over 100 units. In fact, I think this last close, got us to 112. I think it's 112 now. I haven't recounted in probably 60 days. Just finished a massive refi of another 9 properties on my portfolio to create cash to go out and buy more property. And so that was a lot of fun, but we can talk about appraisers and that whole experience. So happy to answer any questions you guys have on that. But yeah, that's kind of the story. So we'll jump into real quick, just the hellos, and then we'll kind of get going. Tom Kind. Hey, good morning, Tom. Dion. Hey, good morning, Dion. Good to see you, my man. Janet Santiago. Good morning. How are you feeling? I'm tired, crampy, but on all the right stuff and whole mixture of cocktails and things to keep me upright. Biggest surprise, I think, was the fatigue, the enduring fatigue. But I have 2 kids, or 3 kids, excuse me. So I'm kind of tired all the time anyways. So it's kind of okay. How do you feel about the today market? Inflection, skyrocket, gas, food. What is your prediction on real estate? So Janet, I think that inflation's taken hold. I made my views pretty well known on a video that we did with Mike Zuber from One Rental at a Time last week. Not to rehash the entire thing, but I think long story short is, I'm all for independence as a country and not depending on others for the things that we need. So I think, outsourcing 90% of this and 95% of that, I think is a horrible idea because you never know if that person's always going to be your buddy. So for me, my take on things is I would not want to see a dip into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. I would prefer to see us, signaling to the people that own the 9,000 open leases that this is what the rules are going to be for the next 5 years. That way they can do the math on the capital. So it's just like us as real estate investors. As we look at a market, what we want is guarantees. And so the reason that 30-year fixed rate debt is so sexy and so important is because that gives us our plan for what the next 5 years are. Sure, there's going to be inflection points when it comes to, and fluctuation when it comes to, cost of doing business and things like that. I get it. And certainly in my state that is actually heavy on not on the income tax side, on the property tax side, there's going to be a lot of movement there. I expect up 5, 6, 7, 8%. So I expect some significant moves, and then rents are going to have to move along with that and certainly more than cover that. I'm not concerned about that, but that's what I kind of expect. So I think the the rule still needs to be, when it comes to real estate, doing good deals, doing great deals, and doing deals that make sense. That rule never ever changes. So for me, that's where the deal that I closed on Thursday, that deal is a killer deal, and I'll walk you guys through the numbers and show it to you. So I don't think anything changes from a real estate market perspective other than staying disciplined, only doing good or great deals. There were a couple deals that popped up this week that were garbage deals in my market. And they were junk. So not interested, right? I'll watch those deals. I'll track those deals. If they sell, okay, great. It revalues my portfolio. It revalues some of my units potentially. But I think, just stay smart, still stay doing the work. One of the nice surprises has been, an interest rate dip. It really only dipped in rates for a couple of days. And then because of the war, which was largely the reason they dipped and then investors flooded in. One of the things to watch for is you'll start to see spreads increase. So you'll say, hey, but the 10-year went down 25 basis points today. And the bank goes, and they're just picking up that margin. That's what you'll typically find when there's unsure ideas in the market, when they're unsure of what's going to happen. A lot of times they'll just absorb that margin. So you won't actually see a rate dip. So those are the things just to watch. Make sure, like I said, 30-year fixed rate debt. If you're doing a 40-year fixed rate debt deal, just do the comparison, the 40 versus the 30. Understand what the difference is in monthly payment to see how that's going to impact your lifestyle and how it plays with your numbers. I'm not diametrically opposed to 40-year fixed rate debt. I'm just not. I think a lot of my properties, the goal isn't to pay them off. The goal is to make sure that they make significant money on a monthly basis. That's what my goal is high-end cash flow. So my goal is not to sit there and start paying down properties with fixed rate 30-year debt. Over the course of the next year, if I don't find any decent deals, I'll take the cash flow that I'm creating and I'll pay down the adjustable debt that I have, which is on commercial stuff. But most of those properties, I think on one of them, I think the property is worth, 1.6. And I think I owe maybe 800 on it. So even if I have to refi, even if it's at a rate that's 300 basis points or 400 basis points higher, I still make plenty of money to cover the expenses. The only thing that goes down is my margin, my profit margin. So that's kind of that. But so that's that. Let me scroll back up here so I can get into the rest of the hellos. Don, hey, good morning, Don. Good to see you, my friend. Anna K, good morning. Flash of light, good morning. Janet, we missed you. Thank you very much, Janet. I miss being here. I miss doing it. I literally could not sit upright last Sunday. So that's why I wasn't here. But yeah, I'm good. Tamika, hey, Tamika, good to see you. It's been a while. Good morning. Crimson Knight, hey, good morning, sir. Good to see him doing better. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Pallavi, good morning. Good morning, Pallavi. Karen, hey, Karen, thanks for asking about me. I appreciate it. I am glad I'm feeling better as well. Yeah, me too. John Williams, good morning. Good morning, sir. Dimitri, my friend. Hi, Matt. Hope you and your family are staying safe and doing well. Yes, sir. Not sure of you any. Yep, sure. Absolutely. Lots of friends in Ukraine. Yep. Yes, our prayers and thoughts are absolutely with the Ukrainian people. And just to be clear, it's not against the Russian people, it's against Russian leadership. I think a lot of people think that the news works in Russia like it does here in the States, and it just doesn't. They're controlling a completely different narrative there in Russia. In fact, they've shut down the 3 most free speech media outlets in Russia. So we are against the Russian regime. We are not against the Russian people. But yeah, thoughts and prayers for all of our Ukrainian friends. I do a lot of business in Ukraine in my software world. So yeah, our thoughts and prayers are with them, and that they're being safe. But if you ever, need perspective, people were going to their cities and getting guns and being handed guns so they could fight. That is the Ukrainian people. They're very tough people. But yeah, they need our thoughts and prayers, and they could certainly use some assistance from the world for sure. But yeah, yep, our thoughts and prayers are with them, and hope they are safe, and that there's an end to this war in a peaceable manner as quickly as possible. So yeah, thank you, Dimitri, for bringing that up. Yep. Legacy Op, good morning. Good morning. Don, you've had a great year so far. Eliana's doing great. Business Insider, massive deals. Congrats. Thanks, Don. Yeah, it's been a super crazy busy year. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Eliana's my daughter. She was 5 months in this last September when she was diagnosed with a very rare and aggressive cancer. Thankfully, in January, we got the report that her scans were clear and she continues her chemo. So we expect to be finishing chemo the end of April, and then getting ready for radiation treatments, which are pretty aggressive. But we're just walking through our miracle day by day. And so she's fighting and she's doing a great job. And we're pushing and fighting as a family. But yeah, we've still done 14 deals in the last 10 months, I think. We've done about 14 deals in the last 10 months. And so I'm still looking, still doing my homework, and I still have my full-time job. So you've got time. If you don't have time, you need to get better at making time, because if I can do it, I know you can do it. Because I also have 3 young kids. So and yeah, Business Insider. So for those of you who don't know, I want to make sure everyone does know. Mike was a huge catalyst in that. Mike made the introduction. I did a couple interviews with them, and then they decided it was a piece that they wanted to do. So I'm super excited that I got the opportunity to do that. Yeah, it was a blast. It was a lot of fun to do, and we'll see if there's any follow-up from it. But yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Matt, the Lumberjack Landlord. Own 112 units. That just grew 6 more this last Thursday to 112. And so I'm still active. I still do deals every single week, month in this market. And I'm going to share with you guys some really cool stuff today that I think you guys are going to absolutely love. Specifically around in a couple deals that we did, where we're going to be able to double our profit, I think, in 12 months on the deal. So I'll show you guys what those details are in the next few minutes. So yeah, it's good. So yeah, thanks, Don, for noticing. It's been a great year. But yeah, Mike was a huge help in making that introduction, and then they liked what they heard, and we're here to encourage people and let them know that you guys can do this. I know you can. And it's you guys could have an amazing year this year, but you got to make sure you're doing the work every single day. Robert Barnes. Hello there. Hey, Robert, thanks so much for joining us today. I don't think I've seen you before, but excited to have you here with us. Dion Talk Financial Freedom. What is your opinion on retirement accounts? Oh, that's a good question. So mine isn't advice on this is what you should do, but just I always will give you exactly what I did. So, and then you do the research on your own and figure out if that's a good fit for you. So retirement accounts for me, so for my retirement account, I negotiated as part of my deal with my company that they would match my 401k, but I would not give them the match. So basically I get the max match from them, but I don't contribute to my 401k. That's how I structured my 401k with my employer. So they pay in the match, but I don't put in my match. My wife, we actually had hers completely maxed just as another asset that we could have. And the difference in funding with what she made and whether or not we needed that funding, that was in the last 5 or 6 years where we really didn't need that funding. And so we just maxed that and put that into her retirement account. So we have 2 retirement accounts, and we've never borrowed against them. We've never borrowed against those retirement accounts, but we have them there. So that's what we have. My view on retirement accounts is we have them. Ashley's not working as a nurse, or hasn't for a little over a year. So she's not putting into hers. Mine gets contributed into only by my employer. I don't contribute into it. And that's it. That's it for retirement accounts. So great question, but yeah, we don't really do anything with retirement accounts. We're going to start remaking how we're structured as an organization. We're filing our taxes this year with a new accountant after 26 years with the same accountant. So that's a difference for us this year. So we're going through that process with that accountant, posting everything into their portal. We just finished loading everything last night. So excited to see where that goes. So yeah, so as far as retirement accounts, I wouldn't know where to steer you. I've got mine. We contributed to them, or she contributed to hers until she stopped working last year. And mine, I do not contribute to. So that's what we feel about retirement accounts. Dimitri Gervich, for American flooring with Marty, what are your favorite colors? I'm looking at Fresno gray, 6.5. 6.5 thick. Do you think it's a good option, or do you go for the thicker ones? So I've used that one. I like that one. The Napa gray is the other one that I've used. And then they have one that's like really diesel, which is, my son ripped the sticker off of it. I don't know what this one is, but it's wicked thick, and it's their commercial stuff. But yeah, that product has worked out really, really well for us. So yeah, we like it. We're fans. And so the Fresno gray, I don't think you can go wrong with that either. So yeah, good pick. Don, diesel went from $3.89 to $4.99 a gallon. My Ram 250 will be sitting for a little while. Yeah, right? No kidding. That's crazy. Yeah, we saw the same thing for heating oil here. It went from $3.89 or $3.79, and it went to $4.59 for heating fuel. So yeah, it's crazy. I am as green as the next person, and I want to see more use of solar. I want to see more use of wind. I want to see, what I really like to see is just like I like in my portfolio. I like sustainability all on my own, but what I like is pulling it from different areas. So single family homes, duplexes, tris, quads, commercial, residential, mixed use. I have everything in my portfolio. So when one thing's performing really well, something else might be performing pretty well. And then when I start to see a shift in the market, I'll shift out of certain assets and into other assets. So for me, I just think that it's a flawed strategy when you're not using everything that you have at your fingertips to your utmost. That's what I like to see. So I would like to see the 9,000 leases that are out there being used. I would like to see clear communication from the government telling those leaseholders, this is what the rules are going to be for the next 5 years. That way they can make the capital investments that are needed in order to get that out of there, get that out of the land. So that's what I would like to see, because we could have gas in the twos and be a global leader in energy. If it came to like liquefied natural gas and things like that, we have so much. We are so blessed to have the resources that we have, and to be unnaturally shutting them off. We are far better stewards of our natural resources than other countries are of theirs, and how we take care of things around it. So I would like to see a little bit more logic and practicality over leveraging those assets. So that's my take. Robert Barnes. Let's see. Oh, sorry. I think I just missed a bunch. My bad. Sorry, guys. Hold on one second. What market are you in? I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. Oh, beautiful. Columbia, South Carolina is beautiful. I am in New Hampshire. I'm in the New Hampshire market. Crimson Knight. So regarding that boiler, Eastern Propane, okay, is willing to do 120. Yep, gallon tanks. Yep. They also are willing to give me a discount on installing Renai boilers. Okay. Should I reject this offer and still go IBC? Me personally, I mean, that's again, I don't know the space. Everything I do is still IBC. The only time we put in Renai's is where we can't get the IBCs in, just because they're too easy. They're just too easy to manage, too easy to fix. The production's there, so I still like IBC. I wouldn't have Eastern to me has been expensive for service. They've been just an expensive organization. But like I told you, but they will do everything, right? So they got bottles there. No one else wanted to do bottles there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah. Tamika, purchasing single family rental number 4, very awesome. It's been 16 months since the first great deal. Love it. Great cash flow on each. Much appreciation to Zuber, you and Dion. You're very welcome. I can speak for the guys when I say that. What are your recommendations for next steps to scale? I would be looking at other assets. I'd be looking at 2s, 3s, and 4s, Tamika. That's what I would be looking at. I like single families. I don't know what market you're in. I don't know your market, even if you tell me what market that you're in. But for me, I like the scale that I get from 2s, 3s, and 4s. I believe 2s, 3s, and 4s in almost every market are the most undervalued assets in the market. I can tell you that single family, 1,200 square foot homes here are selling for 350. Meanwhile, I can get a duplex with 1,200, 1,250 square feet aside. I can get those for 450. My income is going to blow the doors off of the single family. It's not even going to be close. Sometimes you can get lucky and you can find a triplex. It's 36. I just found a 6 unit that's about 6,000 square feet. So I'm about $1,000 square feet a unit. But it actually breaks down differently. I'll cover that. I'll just get through some more of the questions. I'll cover those numbers from that deal with you guys, so you guys can see that. But yeah, for me, Tamika, I think that if you've got 4 successful deals in 16 months, I would start tracking some other assets. I'd be starting to look at some 2s, 3s, and 4s, because I think that if you can find them in that area, if you can find them in your area, I think you will be blown away at what the market numbers are on 2, 3s, and 4s. The price per unit versus another single family home, and you're not going to see that big of a reduction in value over your single family to what your 3-bedroom 1-bath duplex unit is versus a 3-bed 1-bath single family. I think that'll blow you away. So if I'm in your shoes, I start looking at 2, 3s, and 4s for sure. Crimson Knight, also the propane guy. My plumber said my heaters were radiant heat and I should not replace them because they work well with modulating boilers. Yeah, I didn't show them the cover. And you look at a picture I posted in the ORAT and tell me what I have. Yeah, I'll take a peek at that probably later tonight. Yeah, I can take a look. Evolve Properties. Where's the Lambo? Great question. I will be buying a Lambo, 100%. I'm just not going to buy it while there's still so much money in the market. I need there to be some pain. So I'm literally taking the money that I'm getting from that unit. It's being put into a fund or into an account. And when we get the right Lambo, when we find a distressed seller, that's when I'll buy the Lambo. That's how I buy my exotic cars. I won't pay retail, because I can walk into a Lamborghini dealership tomorrow and find one. I could buy one on eBay. I could buy one from a couple of the big brokers I work with down in Florida, or one of the guys in Vegas. I can buy one tomorrow. I'm just not going to pay retail. I'm going to wait until somebody's like, I want to get out. That, and there's still a little bit. So I'm really shopping the deal. I don't know if I'm going to buy an Aventador or if I'm going to buy a Huracan. And I don't know if I'll buy a 2020 Huracan or a 2014 Huracan. It's really sliding scale. It's really all about how amazing of a deal I can get. So great question. But yeah, still shopping. Still shopping. Flash of light. What is your pet policy? How do you deal with inherited pets, especially breeds insurance companies don't like, such as pit bulls? That's a great question. So anytime that I buy a property that I'm inheriting pets, I don't make them get rid of pets. The only thing that I do try and find out is what the pet is. And then I make sure that they have an insurance policy. I contact my insurance provider, make sure they're good. I can't break a lease based on that. So, especially if they, had the pet before and they had permission to have it before. So it really is just a case by case scenario, but the idea is always I let them keep the pet. If it's an insurance issue, I talk to my insurance and say, I'm inheriting this tenant. I can just not renew the lease. Or I always ask my insurance provider what they would like to see. So that's what I always ask. Because for me, I don't have one policy, right? I have 38 policies. And so I have to care I'm in partnership with my provider. So I have to care what they think about. So that's how I do it. If somebody has a pet, there are units that I have that I will let pets in. There are units that I have that I will not let pets in. I don't want to set somebody up for a failure. So if I just spent a bunch of time, money, effort, energy, redoing 120-year-old wood floors in an apartment, I'm not going to let them have some big dog that's going to rip them up, and then I'm going to have to redo them, and then they're going to have to pay me, $3,000 or $4,000 to sand them. I don't want to set them up for a fail. That's not, the goal isn't to be clever. The goal here is to be smart. And so I believe smart is, that's where I believe smart comes in. I believe smart, sorry guys, moving some real estate around here. So I believe letting them keep. I also want to see how they are as a tenant. For me, pets are a lot more about the tenant than they are about the pet itself. I've had, dogs that a lot of people wouldn't consider, but the owner was amazing. So I was all for it. I've had, a woman with a cat or a girl with a cat, and she was a nightmare. The place always smelled. So yeah, I mean, for her, we just didn't renew her lease. In fact, she just left. So yeah, that was a far better option for us. So great question. Kelly Birkenbow, good morning. Do you have any experience with outdoor wood boilers? I do. Looking into it for future primary residence, which is an 1811 stone house. Very cool. Like 5-foot basement. Yeah, sure. What would be a good option? That or regular furnace or propane? This is rural area in northern New York. So for me, I like both. That's me. It's more expensive, but I like primary and secondary as much as I can get primary and secondary. So for the house that I live in, we have multiple heating systems. And that ensures that if propane's ever out, we have a secondary option. So that's what I would tell you. Wood boilers, they're fantastic. What I would tell you too, is there's some people that have bought them and after a year or two are just like, screw this. I don't want to keep on having to go outside and put wood in the thing. And so you can find actually really nice ones used. So I think you can't go wrong with, if you have a heating system, also, finding a used one of those, having it piped and hooked up, seeing if you like the lifestyle and living with that. Just like kind of like pellet stoves, same exact thing, what used to be wood stoves. It's really a lifestyle thing. And so, on pellets, you could be doing, having to buy the pellets, deliver the pellets, keep the pellets dry, depending on the size machine or system that you have. It might be filling it once a day in a hopper or every 3 days. It really is a lifestyle to get used to. So yeah, I like outside boilers. There's plenty of them that they make that are good ones, but I would certainly look at some of the ones that you see out there used. I would look on like Craigslist. I would look on Facebook Marketplace. All those are great areas that you can go kind of check that stuff out for sure. Cherry Farms. Hey, Cherry Farms. What is the value of your portfolio? I didn't disclose that. It's big. It's 106 units or 112 units. It's 36 buildings. There you go. So I don't disclose. The most you'll see me disclose is what I disclose in that Business Insider article, which is we do more than 6 figures a month gross. But that's it. Other than that, we don't share numbers. I think it gets people confused. I think it sets them up for failure, because our portfolio ebbs and flows in sizes, and we share our, the deal that we did, right? So you're hearing exactly the deal that we did, exactly the deal that we worked on. I'm sharing with you all the numbers on that deal. The size of my portfolio at this point doesn't really matter, even though I'm sure people want to know. Sorry. We'll keep something private. Horatio Gutierrez. Hi, Matt. How did you buy the rest of your rental properties after house hacking 36 units to get to 100 units? Yep. Did you do cash out refinances or 1031s or use commercial loans, and what kind of units was it? So Horatio, there are a lot of questions in there, but well done. And I know that you sent me a message on Facebook. I just haven't gotten to that stuff yet. So here's what I can tell you. How do we do it? So we did all the things that you listed there. We did 1031s. We did cash out refis. We did Helocs. We did commercial loans. We did it all. In fact, in 07, when they made the rule changes because the economy was in the toilet, in 07, we actually were one of the ones that we had more than four. We had more than 4 units, and I think we had 5 or 6 buildings, mortgages, and they shut us off because they went from, you could have 10 mortgages with Fannie Freddie, and then they changed that to 4. That instantly shut us off. That killed our business. So at that point, I then had to go on the hunt for other organizations, other companies that would do loans with me, even though I already had my satisfied number with Fannie and Freddie. So what I had to do is I had to find banks that were going to portfolio some of my loans. So we went from being able to use any bank to then we went to, that's what got me then small local, right? So I went small local bank, and we did 2 purchases, and then cash out refied after the first and cash out refied after the second. And then after that, they said, nope, no more mortgages for you. We're done. We're only doing 2. I'm like, okay, on the search again for another bank. This is when banking was really hard and you didn't have people throwing money at you. We had to go beg for money. I had to make a bunch of phone calls, take a bunch of meetings, have a bunch of conversations, understand how they did underwriting. There was a lot of work that went into that. That was the hardest thing, was then getting the next loan. It wasn't finding the next deal. There were tons of foreclosures at that point. So it wasn't about finding the next deal. It was about finding the bank that would let me do the next deal. The next bank that I did business with, I did 4 loans with them. And then after that, they shut me off. And then the next bank, then we just started doing commercial deals on the next bank. But yeah, cash out refis, 1031s, you name it, Helocs. We did everything we could to get into the next deal. So yeah, for sure. Rob Toyer, how long did it take for you to become financially free with work optional? Probably. So the reason I struggle with that question is because I could have quit after probably 7 or 8 years. I could have quit after 7 or 8. But I didn't want to live on that little. I wanted to live on a whole lot more. And so I still liked my job. I still liked working the crazy hours. I hadn't started having kids yet. I had just gotten married. So she was in school. I was still working crazy hours. And so, from that perspective, it really put me in a position where I was like, I can just build this bigger. And now we're getting to the point where now it's kind of so big and there's so much to it and so many moving parts to it. Now I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm like, all right, now I can choose to work. Like I could have stopped 10 years ago and been fine. But I still kept at it. Could have done it 10 years ago, 12 years ago, maybe 12. Yeah, probably could have done it 12 years ago. Mm, 2010. No, because I still wanted to buy. It was a different market then, and you need to have a W-2, not just real estate, right? So yeah, probably could have afforded to, if I wanted to stop the size that I was, probably 12 years ago. So about 8 years in. But really this last 18 to 24 months has really been the biggest shift for us, where with the refis and the creation of cash and adding additional assets and a bunch of 1031s, that's what's made the biggest shift for us. And so now it's really in a position where it's like any day, any day could be the day. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Robert Barnes. So you still have a full-time job? I do. I currently still have a full-time job. Robert Barnes. Yes. Crimson Knight. So that story you talked about earlier this week with Michael about having to write a $60,000 check when only having $6,000. Yeah. Can you explain how you made that work? I am kind of in the same boat. Yeah. I mean, that one in particular was we had gotten hit with a lead order from the state. And they were like, you're going to have to write this check. And I was like, well, then you're just going to have to bankrupt me. It's not an option. So they had found lead in one of our properties. It was in the most inopportune time. And quite frankly, it was with a tenant that we hadn't given permission to live there. We had rented out specifically to some senior citizens. And they were like, listen, we're going to be here till we pass. Their daughter got in legal trouble, ended up going to jail. They had to take her daughter, so their granddaughter, and their granddaughter, who was bouncing around between 3 different houses. They were one of them. My house was clean. It was nice. It was well kept. The other 2 were complete dumps. Well, when she tested positive with an 11 deciliter test, 11 grains of sand, 11 deciliter test, that flagged my unit because she spent more than 1 day a week there. I never gave them permission to let her. Didn't matter. So the state came down. They basically went through the entire building and they said, yep, you have lead everywhere and you need to get rid of it. And so that bill for that, at that point, it was more like mafia like, where it was multiple people the same time. Only like 4 or 5 vendors at the same time were the only ones that were allowed to do that work. And surprisingly, their bills or their quotes were within like $1,500 of each other. And they were chumming it up in the hallway before we went in to have the meeting. And it was just like, it felt like such a railroading. And so I then started looking everywhere to find grants and things like that would take care of it. And so I found a grant that would basically pay for it, and they put a lien on the property. Was what it was. So when I sold the property, they took that money. And so that hurt because that meant I didn't make any money on that property. But it saved me from having to go bankrupt. And so having $6,000 or a $60,000 check, it was literally every single day just finding out the next thing to do. It was getting units rented out. And in renting out those units, just getting people that weren't paying the most, but I knew I could guarantee them to pay. And then I could just keep my head above water. And that's really what it was in that time frame. That's really what it was in that time frame for 20 for I think 08, 09. It was working my butt off at work trying to make extra money. I mean, when I say we were living on the dollar menu at McDonald's for a treat, that's not a lie. When I tell you that we were going to Cumberland Farms and 7-Eleven for their special hot dog deal, and we would spend $7 on dinner, and that was one of our treats. That's truly what life was like. And so it was, my wife was still in school. She couldn't get a job as a nurse because she hadn't gotten a degree yet. So yeah, it was a hard go of it. And then try having houses that had no equity in them because the economy had crashed. So you couldn't borrow against your asset. That was impossible. I had a HELOC. That's why I always tell people, be careful of HELOCs. I had a HELOC that literally got shut off. And I had just written checks to a bunch of contractors. So I was then at that point, I was going out and looking for hard money. I was looking for loans. So yeah, my life is not this like charmed easy life where it was just like boom, 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 ad. I went through it. I almost went bankrupt multiple times. It was a hard go for sure. For sure. It was hard. For sure. I mean, we were probably for 2 or 3 years, we had our credit cards completely maxed out where we would literally pay them down just so we could use them for a few $100 again that month. So yeah, it's hard. It was had. Janelle Diaz. Hey, Janelle. Morning, Matt. Glad you've recovered. Thank you, sir. Where do you park your money while waiting for the next deal? Multiple bank accounts. I want it to be liquid. In fact, I have a conversation with a financial guy on Tuesday. And the purpose of that is to talk about maintaining liquidity and being able to write a check and being able to have a check available. Obviously, proof of funds is not ever an issue, but I would always need to be able to pull it out of whatever asset that it's in, not pay massive penalties, and be able to, potentially close in 14 days on a cash deal. So we're having that conversation Tuesday. So I will update you next Sunday and tell you exactly how it went. But yeah, right now it's just multiple bank accounts because access to the capital is far more important than return on the capital, right? When I go to buy the next deal, it's going to be 20+%. So yeah, 459. Damn, I will be crying my next oil fill. Yeah, for sure you will. I saw a huge line of BJ's gas in Nashville. Yep, I'm picking up my butcher block. Yep, to get 370 gas when others were charging 420. Yeah, I mean, think about that. That's 50 cents a gallon on 20 gallons. It's $10. And people will wait in line for an hour. That's crazy. Imagine when you go to fill your oil tank and it's 275 gallons. That's the crazy thing. Yeah, kind of nuts. Kind of nuts for sure. Tony Carr, good morning, Lumberjack Landlord. Just awesome weekly contents. Hey, thanks, Tony. I appreciate that, my friend. Beauty by Reba Vera. Hey, Reba, do you recommend tile flooring for tenants with pets? So what I don't like about, I like the vinyl click lock because of the cost. So tile I like, but here's the problem that I have with tile. For you to get a decent tile, you're probably $3 to $4 a square foot. You're probably a couple of bucks a square foot in material like mortar and hardy backer. You're probably another $5 to $7 a square foot for install. So when you're all said and done, you're $12 to $15 a square foot to install tile floors. 12 to 15. That's a really big number. The LVP, even if you go high end, maybe $4 and then a couple of bucks for install, you're $6. And it's got the click lock. So you're not getting down in between, right? So I would rather spend $6 than 12 to 15. I don't like putting tile floors in anymore. I just don't. They're far too expensive. The only thing that we really tile now is backsplash and tub surrounds, depending on where the unit is, depending on what the unit is. So great question, Reba, as always. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of tile. It's just too expensive. Evolve Properties. We heat our primary residence with an outdoor wood boiler. Very cool. My third full-time job is cutting wood. Yeah, be prepared for that if you decide to go that route. Yep, for sure. Or if depending on how much land you have, you can buy a massive amount of it, a massive amount of wood. Like you can buy it green, and depending on how many cords you're going to go through that season, maybe it's 6 or 8 cords. You can buy a massive amount. Like I'm talking like 20 cords from somebody where you can contract with them and get 20 cords. Then you have you'll always have, a year's worth, if you will, if it's 6 cords or 8 cords or 12 cords, however much you go through in the wintertime. But yeah, largely speaking, I would definitely be getting like a wood splitter. Yeah. So I agree with that, Evolve. Thanks for the input there. That's great. That's great. Kip Stevens, good morning, sir. Hey, good morning, Kip. Hope the family's doing well and getting back to semi-normal schedule. Yeah, we certainly are trying. That's for darn sure. That was not very fun. But yeah, thanks for the well wishes. I appreciate it. Drew A. Hello from Texas. Hey, Drew. Good morning from Texas, from New Hampshire. So good to have you here. Crimson Knight 921. What would you do regarding sinks in C-class in Nashville? Worth it to buy a Kohler 9-inch deep sink? No, I don't think so. I would be looking on. I wouldn't be. Mm-mm. I mean, if you're installing it yourself, I would be looking at like Facebook Marketplace, because you can find people that are redoing their kitchen and the sink is completely fine, but they just don't want the sink in there. So I've actually bought, the other thing I would look at too is I would look at eBay overstock stuff on eBay. I bought a really awesome deal on some farmers sinks where the guy had like 4 left or 5 left. They were like $600 or $700 12-inch deep farmer sinks. And I bought them for like a little over $300 a piece. I think I still have one left in stock. We use them. They're awesome. So yeah, I don't think you have to necessarily pay retail for the sink. But yeah, I would look at like Facebook Marketplace, something like that, Craigslist. Especially if you're installing yourself, that's what I would do. Drew A, do you see future added government tax incentives to build more affordable housing due to lack of supply? I feel opportunity zones are not going fast enough to keep up. I think that they'll try and do something like that, but I don't think they'll be very successful. So I've been investigating 3D building for about a little over a year, maybe year and a half. And we got very close to buying a machine. The problem is the states and the zoning and the rules. It's going to be a while for that stuff to start to get adopted. It's going to be a challenge. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, I agree. I think the certain states are doing very well, moving quickly to adopt change, and other states are not. Texas is doing a really good job with 3D adopting change. Other states are not. Other states are not doing a very good job with it, and it could very much help solve a lot of the problems. Yep. I should probably do that video on 3D. I should probably do that video. Yeah, I should. Sorry, I haven't done it yet. Crimson Knight 921. Did you have a bank you liked when you were in Manchester? I didn't. Nope. The banks that I had in Manchester, Crimson, were I was still doing national deals at that point. So it was GMAC, who then became Ally, I think. Yeah, GMAC then became Ally. Then a couple of my mortgages got sold off. I got one sold off to Mr. Cooper and one to PNC. And yeah, it was a nightmare. But those were all national banks that I was doing business with when I was in Manchester, nothing local. Kenny Kim. Good morning, Lumberjack and folks. Hey, Kenny, good morning. Speaking of cash out refinance, I was told that you can't do that with a conventional Fannie Mae loans. If you have too many units, more than 10 loans, yep. How do you do a cash out refi to recycle the money? Commercial loan. I've taken a 30-year fixed rate debt loan and refied it, because I think on the 30-year fixed rate debt, usually it depends on the bank too. It's not just a Fannie Freddie thing. It really depends on the bank. So I had one bank that I had my more than 10 loans, but that loan still didn't lose its place. Like, you're still allowed 10. So if you're using a Fannie Freddie, I think that's personal. I personally think, Kenny, I think that's a bank's rule, not the rule. Mark Oshiro. Hey, Mark, good morning from Hawaii. Man, that sounds really nice. I won't lie. That sounds really nice. When you're trying to decide on retiring, do you have a certain amount that you want in savings, or are you mainly looking at your monthly cash flow? Mark, that's an awesome question. Yes, I'm looking at both. I'm looking at how much cash I have, and I'm looking at what my cash flow is. But both of them are at all-time highs. So I have more cash than I've ever had, and I have more cash flow by a lot than I've ever had. So yeah, now I can legitimately start looking at that and saying, yeah, it's not a problem. I don't have any ratio like I need to be making 6x or anything like that. So I don't have anything like that. But yeah, it's the combination of the two, cash and cash flow. Yes, you're correct. And also having properties with some equity in them too, just in case. We have a couple properties that we almost own outright. I could write a check and I'd own them, and so I could always sell those if an economy, crash. I needed a few $100,000. I could always sell those. So yeah, good question. Yep. So it's both. Shamir Bless, have you ever used transactional funding? How does it work? Transactional funding? No, I haven't. If you give me more detail, it might just be something that I've done that it was called something different. So I'm not sure, Shamir, but great question. Crimson Knight. Yep. Doesn't help for the money issue. Yeah, sure. Yep. I should have gotten home improvement loan first instead of put renovations on credit card and get a debt loan and found out it doesn't work that. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. Banks will reject you immediately because of the debt increase in the short amount of time. Lesson learned. Yeah, sounds about right. My current sink has a lot of scratches and nicks. Oh, and NH Saves is back. Yeah. Yep. So I know that they're back. Yeah. Government funded that. It's very smart. I was surprised that they let it expire, but the government had a lot. The governor, not government, governor had a lot to do with getting NH Saves back and going. So yeah, good for you, Mr. Sununu. Well done. Well done, sir. And I'm elated that he decided not to run for any other office. He's running again as governor. And I love that. He's an amazing governor. He's done a very good job. Not a perfect job, but he's done a very good job for us. So yeah, very happy with a lot of the results that he's gotten. Crimson Knight. The other thing I would look into, I don't think they service that area. Usually a bank will let you do a cash out refi. Usually they will let you do some sort of a HELOC on your property if you give it to them in writing that you're going to use that to pay off the debt. So I've had that experience before too, where they were like, hey, and you can even tell them, you guys can write the check to them yourself. Not a problem. So I would just shop that idea with some of the local banks. I would shop that deal with them. That's what I would do. And the reason for that is because there were plenty of banks that told me no, but only one needed to say yes. And one eventually said yes. Because I told them, I said, the plan is to refi this. I'm going to pay off all this credit card debt. Even though the credit card debt was acquired based on doing the work in a property. And then I showed them, but look at what my incomes are now on these properties. So yeah, I would do that. Tony Carr, 55. If you were near retirement, not wanting to do major renovations, and don't have contractor teams, would you do the Dion method of purchasing properties or other? So I don't have teams that I own. I have teams that I've worked with because of the work that I've done over the years. So I don't have any employees. All of my guys are 1099 subs. And so when I say my guys, these are just contractors that I use. I obviously respect Dion immensely. For me, I like value add deals. I don't like buying done deals. I don't like buying even stuff that's it's just not for me. I want to buy something that I can get more value out of. Yeah, I just want to get more value out of it. Sorry. Yeah, that's a great question. But yeah, so I think that can be your strategy, Tony. But for me, because I'm actually near retirement. I'm near retirement. I'll be retired 45, 6/14. Like I tease Mike. He retired 45 years old, 6 months and 15 days. So my goal is to retire at 45 years, 6 months and 14 days. Just because it's funny. And it'd be nice to beat him at something, I think. So Yeah. So I'll probably be retired right around there. And so it's not far away from me. It's not far away. Yeah. Dan Hunter, question on states with no state income tax, but high property tax. Yep. With increase on property taxes yearly. Yep. Does your monthly spread between PITI and rent increase over time? Or does tax insurance take up your gains? Dan, that is a hell of a question. Dan, very well done right there, my friend. Very well done. That is an awesome question. No one's ever asked me that. So kudos to you. I really appreciate being asked that question because I think that that one's really important. So guys, everybody likes to talk about red state, blue state investing. I don't care. There are opportunities in red states. There are opportunities in blue states. Income tax states versus non-income tax states. That's where you start to see some real delineation. Now, that being said, there's still plenty of states that have massively high taxes where you can be a real estate investor. New Jersey, California, fill in the blank. But in New Hampshire, it's just, again, when you're investing in any market, it's all about leveraging the rules in that market and getting the best return. So with it being about leveraging that market, leveraging those returns, what's really, really important is that you know the rules. Like Mike's an investor in Fresno, right? Crushes it, absolutely crushes it in Fresno. There's not enough money in the world for me to invest in Fresno because I don't like so many of the other aspects of Fresno. That's for me. However, let's talk about what Dan's question was because I love Dan's question. You will find that there are ebbs and flows to it, Dan. Honestly, there are ebbs and flows. Some year you're making, if you're on a property that's doing 10%, or making 10 or 12%, you can literally see with what rents jump that you're doing 16% that next year margin. It really does ebb and flow, but over the extended period of time, it's not been an issue for me in any of my properties. It's not been where I've been outgained by taxes and insurance. I've not been outgained in any of those. Nope. I've seen some properties jump, 10 or 11% in income tax or in property tax in a year. But again, excuse me. So let's say the taxes are $7,000 and it jumps 10%. It's $700 more, right? $700 over the course of the year that I'm going to have to pick up, right? Here's the thing. Likely, so on the property that just happened on, it was a duplex. The taxes went from 7 to 77, but it was a duplex, number one. And number two, and most importantly, is my rents were already $2,500 a month. They were already $5,000 a month. So my taxes, insurance, all in, like I was still making a couple of grand a month. Wasn't really that big of a thing. But now I got to make up $700, right? But $700 on 5,000, right? So 5,000 over 12-month period is 60. So in order for me to make up that 700, I basically have to raise my rents, 1%. Do you see that? You see what I did there? So it's only 1% I'd have to raise it. Right? Yeah. Yep. 1% is all I'd have to raise it. And rents went up way higher than that. So those rents went from 2,500 to 2,850. This is how big the jump was there. It's more than 10%. So now I'm making an extra 700 a month. I hadn't done the math until the second. So I'm now making an extra 700 a month on that property instead of, and I only needed 700 for the year. So yeah. So yeah, so far I've never gotten, there's ebbs and flows through the span of 10, 15 years on a house, but it's never, it's never been one where it's like, holy cow, this just got turned into an alligator. That's the problem with single family stuff in Austin. That's what's hitting people there. Single families in Austin that were 250 and now are 450, and the taxes went up because of the income tax. Well, they were only making a few $100 a month. Now they own an alligator. That's why I don't like single families. especially in my type of a market. That's why I don't buy single families for rent in my market, is because that one tax assessment gone, all your profit gone. And now you want an alligator. What's your option now? Sell, pay down the mortgage. I don't like any of those options. I don't like ever being forced to sell. So hopefully that helps. Drew A, let's get some of these likes up, people. Hey, thanks, Drew. Appreciate that. Yeah. If this is good quality content, which I think it is. Don, Crimson Knight, I feel your pain. Yep, I just had to pay off $35K in renovation, personal credit card debt to raise my credit score and lower debt to income. Yep, Don, I went to credit union with my truck title and got a 7.5% load and paid off the credit card. Yep, that's a great idea too. I've done that in the past too. Yep, that's absolutely a great thing to do as well. Yep, not be afraid to move money around. It's the way it goes. Kenny Kim, thanks Lumberjack for the comments. You're welcome, Kenny. Happy to help. Hey, Les and Heidi Hefner. These guys were some of the original Lumberjack OGs. Good to see you guys. Watching from Las Vegas. Just sold our house in Summerlin. Oh, good for you guys. Bought a house in North Carolina cheaper than could build one. Yep, totally get it. Good for you guys. Congratulations. So Summerlin is very near and dear to my heart. My wife and I shopped there for years. And then then COVID happened. And then the economy started going nuts there in Vegas. And so that just put us on the sidelines for a while. But yeah, we will own something in Vegas. I love it there. Absolutely love it there. So congratulations to you guys. And North Carolina is nice too. Tell me where in North Carolina, because North Carolina almost became my second market because of relationships I had there. Yeah. Yep. Drew A, do you have your spouse qualified as a real estate professional so that you can deduct your real estate losses from your W-2 income? Yes, I do. Just happened this year. So, because Ashley was a nurse, but when she was 6 months pregnant with Eliana, we were just like, listen, we'd always made the plan to have you stay at home with the 3 kids and the new baby and everything else. And so we kind of made that plan. We're just like, you know what, now is as good a time as any, especially with, adding the 3rd kid. We were just like, we'll just do it a little bit early. So yeah, so we did a little bit early. Yep. Yes. No code on my buy box market is crazy. The last 3 offers I have made have all went 25 to 50K over with single digit returns. Yep, I see. I saw one go this week with that, Don. So crazy. Crimson Knight 921. Ouch, only 18K for me. Mike Zuber described perfectly a few days ago a tenant not paying rent and a broken water heater while trying to renovate. It was kind of funny. Yeah. Sadly, we've all been in those shoes, right, Crimson? I mean, yeah, we've been in those shoes for sure. Drew A, do you ever contest the county appraised value in order to lower your property taxes for the year? Yes. Frequently, no. There's agencies around here that do that for you. It is a fairly lengthy process. And the problem that you have is that you don't have to prove that they were high on yours. You have to prove that they were high on yours compared to your neighbors. That's a hard gig. That's a hard gig to prove. It is, because a lot of times they're smart and they'll hit the neighborhood with something, so that's a hard one. It's a hard one. Yeah. Yep. It's a hard one. And again, the amounts, they can be big, 11%, like that sounds like a really big number, and technically it is. But if the difference between a 7% raise and an 11% raise, that 4% only on taxes is the difference between me not making money and making money, then I didn't do a very good deal. But I could see if I was stuck, I could see, everything's on the table, guys. Everything's on the table. So I would be trying to do anything I could to get the dollars down. So good question, Drew. Keith Hager, question. So added value properties increase value and leverage. Government rules increase net bottom line and value. All right, sorry, let me reread that, Keith. Again, I got kind of a mush brain, Keith, right now, so I'm going to try. Let me try. Added value properties increase value and leverage. Government rules increase net bottom line and value. I need more detail on that, Keith. I want to answer your question, but I don't think I understand it. Value added properties for me are if I have to gut a B or a C or a D level property to rehab it, well, it being a C doesn't help me, right? I'm paying for the value of it being a C, but I got to gut it anyway. So I rather it be complete crap. I rather it have cat urine stained everything. I rather have holes in the wall, copper pipes missing, because that lowers the number of people that will qualify to buy that type of a property. Number one. Number two is it will also scare away a lot of people that would try and buy that property because they don't have any idea what they're doing. And they wouldn't be able to put together proposals fast enough to get a deal like that done. Number two. And number three, because I know that the seller knows that the pool is so much smaller that I'm going to have a lot more pricing power in trying to get a job done. And also having a letter from my bank that says, I've done, 75 rehabs and that, that they're already going to approve me. It doesn't need to appraise out like a Fannie Freddie loan type of thing. There's ways to structure that deal that make you look that much better to the seller. I bought a complete dump, unlivable home. I bought it for 115, I think, and put about that same into it. Because it was so bad, like a collapsed wall in the basement. Like it was bad. I ended up selling it and it ended up being a great house for them. So yeah. So Keith, let me know if I nailed that for you. Kenny Kim, would you use a HELOC over cash out refinance in certain situations? Too many gaps there, Kenny. I can tell you for me, I don't like HELOCs generally speaking because they can shut them off. And so if I were to do a HELOC today, the day I closed, I would take all the money out and start paying the interest because I would want to make sure that it's not going to get shut down because they can shut it off anytime they want. And I had one where I think I had $50,000 I'd taken out for the project. It was for 75 grand. I wrote it checks for $15,000 to my contractors, and they sent me a letter in the mail saying, "Hey, we shut down your HELOC. No notice, no contemplation." And I was like, "Well, I wrote $15,000 in checks." They're like, "Yeah, we're not going to honor any of them." That hurt. That's the only time I've ever bounced checks to contractors. And as soon as I found that out, I started calling all of them. "Hey, just so you know, please don't deposit that check. I just found out that the bank just shut off my HELOC." And so I had to mad scramble and take on some expensive money. It was my only option. I had to make sure my contractors got paid. So that's what ended up happening. Romy Domingo, follow on to the annual increase in taxes and insurance. Yep. Expenses. Yep. And the increase in rent income. Yep. Should these be included in calculating cash flow the same way we set aside CapEx, minor repairs, etc.? So Romy, so here's how I do it. I have kind of like $50,000, $60,000 that always is there. 50 or 60 grand that's always there available to me, no matter what. So I don't CapEx a lot of properties, or put emergency funds for a lot of properties. For me, I think that when your percentages, I think your percentages are good because as those rents increase over time, sure, it's the only thing that becomes ever a problem, and it's a good problem to have, is that you look at it and you're like, man, I got like $6,000 sitting there for this property. Well, if you've done the roof in the last few years, you've done the boiler in the last few years, you've done some of these things in the last few years, the kitchen's been done recently, like that sort of stuff, then yeah, I would take that money. I would probably section off a section of it and put it in the account to go, buy and buy another one. Because, we kind of will take that money and as stuff occurs, certainly pay it off. But we'll do, like, I just negotiated a deal for 3 roofs to be done. I'm getting an awesome deal because I'm doing 3 roofs. at the same time. And the guy's like, yeah, we're just, and it's easy. It's easy for him, easy for me. But that came to a point where they hadn't been done. We've been basically putting money aside, percentage wise on the properties, knowing that we had to do those roofs. So now it's just time. But if I'd already done those roofs, like now that those roofs are done, we don't leave any money behind in that property for CapEx, just because all the big stuff's been done at this point. Roof, windows. We also, that's where when we buy property too, Romy, is that we'll do a lot of gut rehabs and then we'll keep the property. So that way I've done heating systems, roofs, windows, kitchens, bathrooms. I've done all that stuff. That drastically reduces my annualized expense on that property. Like I have one property that we heard from them for the first time in 2 years that there was a problem with something. 2 years. And we did a complete gut rehab on that place 5 years ago. So something just happened there where it was like a leaky drain, like a P-trap. It was just a simple fast replacement. Excuse me. Sorry. Hopefully that helps. Anna K. Hi, Anna K. Shamir Bless. Having a rental property, you can write off all your interests and taxes paid for the property. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not an accountant, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. We run all of our reports and then send them to an accountant. So he gets a massive stack from us with here's all the data. And then as he goes through it, he'll come back to us and say, how would you like to do this? What would you like to do here? And then we talk about pros and cons of each of those options. So yeah. Yep. Anna K. Lead paint incident is very awakening. Thank you for sharing your experience. Yeah, Anna, it almost bankrupted us. Flat out, it almost bankrupted us. And here's what they tell you. They tell you, oh, we're going to wrap this up. It's going to be probably 60 to 90 days. 9 months it took them. They didn't give a shit. They didn't care about us. Those contractors didn't care. They didn't care one bit. We had to beg them to come in. We had to beg them to get stuff done. And the worst part is that you actually have to pay for your tenants to live somewhere else. You have to find them place for them. You have to pay for them to live there. And then they're supposed to pay you rent. And then when they don't pay you rent, guess what? You then still can't evict them because it's under a lead order. Like that process absolutely could have bankrupted us. And so we basically let everybody know and just said, hey, it's going to be some time. We basically had to pay them. So everybody moved out. We just basically told them, we're like, listen, this is the deal. You're going to have to move out. And we tried to give them some money to move out in the process. And we did that. And then we had to wait until the building was completely finished and cleared. 8 months or 9 months. I think 9 months. 9 months I didn't get paid rent. 9 months. Worse than that was this was not something that insurance would cover. So for 9 months, I had to pay that mortgage every single month, pay to heat it, watch these contractors not give two you-know-whats and just come and go as they please and slow drag it. And I'm calling the program. They're not really helping. They're not pushing people along. They're like, well, we can only go when they tell us there's an update. And I was like, you guys made me use them. So when that was all said and done, that job that they charged me for was, I think it was $49,000. I want to say is what they charged me. It's 49 grand is what they charged me. And I can do that same job today for probably 14. It was a total ripoff. So yeah, it was scary. It was scary. Karen Molnar, welcome to NC lesson, Heidi. Oh, very cool. Pinehurst. Okay. I don't know where that is. Pinehurst. I was looking at the Raleigh area and the Greensboro area. Yep. Hugo G. I have to renew a rental property lease. Okay. Current rent is $13.50. and the market value is 1,500. How much should I raise the rent if I have a responsible tenant? Thank you. Hugo G, that is a great question. So Dion does a phenomenal job on his channel of something called the binder strategy. I would look at the binder strategy. Basically 30,000 foot view is I would be looking up the rents of the places that are available and then presenting that to the tenant and saying, here's the stuff that's available in the market right now. You're at 1,350. These are at 1,600 bucks. Wanted to, I would love to have you stay, but I need to raise the rent to get me more, competitive in the market. And because all of my costs have gone up, taxes have gone up, everything's gone up, as you guys have heard on the news. And so let me know what you guys would feel comfortable paying based on what the other rents are in the area around this property. That's essentially the 30,000 foot view of the binder strategy. That's basically something with my tenants is I always look at what the other options are available to them. In my market, there's really not a lot of other options available. So I can make it whatever I want. But if they're a great tenant, yeah, I would, maybe raise it $100 to 1,450 and, leave $50 on the table. But I would do the work. I would do the work and look at what their other options are around you and ask them what they would like to pay, because there's costs that go to moving for them and for you. They have to move, they have to, do the deposit, they have to do all of that stuff. And then for you, you have to turn the unit. So what's that worth? So those were all the calculations kind of come in, but Dion does an amazing job on his binder strategy video. So I'll definitely watch that. But that's kind of 30,000 foot deal what I would do. Hey, Jeremy Kirkwood, late to the party. That's all right, Jeremy. I know you're a busy man. In Indianapolis, looking at housing on Geist Reservoir. It's a beautiful area. Daughter is at state swim championship here. Very cool. So I love river stuff. If you guys look at my Instagram, Lumberjack Landlord, at Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram. If you guys take a look at that picture, if you look at that picture that I did yesterday, I'm going to try and see if I can bring it up. Maybe one real quick second. It was the one that I did yesterday. So does that not do that? Really? That's silly. Hopefully that will focus. So that's that big white spot there. That's a big, huge river. So I love that area. And that's actually why I bought that property. I just love that area. So yeah, I'm with you, Jeremy. I'm all about that stuff. I love rivers. I love water. I'll buy an oceanfront house sometime. Just haven't found the right one yet. But yeah, love all that stuff. Love water. Karen Mulder. So rented my first investment property this weekend. Awesome. Made mistakes. That's okay. Don't know how you, the other amigos, and all those successful people before you did it without content you all provide. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah. Holy crap. Right. I always tell people, I wish that YouTube existed when I was a landlord, when I first became a landlord, because you make so many mistakes. I mean, I was very honest in the Business Insider article, and I told him, I said, I've made every mistake there is. And I really have. I've taken I promise we've turned things around. I've taken we just really need a place. We're at a bad spot. We know what you're doing for us. And they pork me anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Live through it all. But yeah, good for you, Karen. Congratulations on getting your first one rented. Crimson Knight as a smaller NH investor. LL. Oh, you assume 10%. Okay. 10% property tax when I look at a deal. Yep. 10% property tax increase. Yeah, that's probably pretty right. Probably. Yep. Yeah, what I've found is I never find landlords in any of the deals that I do that are anywhere near market. They're always way off. Yeah, way up. Yeah, always way off. Landlubber. What do you think about metal roofs on rentals? Worth the additional money? I don't like them. I don't like them. They've been really loud on the couple places I've done them. They've been really loud and people complained. People complained with how loud they were. So I had to then go the extra step and I had to put a better insulation and sound barrier in the attic. And it was like, that was an expense I was planning on doing. So the noise was an issue. Yep. The pinging on the roof when that heavy rain, we get some heavy rain throughout the course of the year. That's been the issue. Yep. So I still stick with 30-year architectural shingles. Jenny Medina. Hey, Jenny. Hi, Matt. Made it to catch some of the live. Must be back from wrestling. Not Jenny's wrestling. Her son's wrestling. Dion talk financial freedom. The binder sounds too smart for this guy, Dion, to know. I mean, by looking at him, that would be the thing. That would be the thought that would initially come to mind. But no, pretty sharp guy. So yeah, I would follow the binder strategy. It's pretty good. Romy Domingo. Thanks so much, Matt. Lots of golden nuggets here. I've learned a lot, especially getting more focused on my market to determining a good, average, and great deal. Very good. Great point of how Helocs can get turned off. Yeah, thanks, Romy. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a scary thing. A lot of people don't know that happens. I lived and invested through that whole entire 05, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 debacle, the Great Recession. It was really scary. When you need that money, you can just literally, it's just shut off and you're done. And that's one of the first things that the banks do. So everyone made a big deal about Wells Fargo, the beginning of the end, when they shut off all those HELOCs. Let me explain to you guys how HELOCs work. When you commit a HELOC to a customer, let's say it's 10 customers and they're all $100,000 HELOCs. That's $1 million that you're lending out, even though you haven't lent out the $1 million. It has to sit on your balance sheet as this is $1 million that we have on our balance sheet as leveraged. This is part of our leverage that we're putting out there in the market. Here's the problem. If those 10 people don't take that money out, you still are not able to lend out that $1 million to anybody else. It's taken up in your liquidity. So that's why a lot of banks, like Wells Fargo, especially when they got in trouble, they shut off a bunch of equity lines because they wanted to be able to lend out more on mortgages, because mortgages is much better for them because that's fully utilized debt that they're making money on. They're only making money when somebody has a HELOC, when somebody took the money out and is paying them interest on that HELOC. That's why Wells did that. Not because they were collapsing, but because they wanted better return on their liquidity. That's why and how they did that. Let me know if that makes sense. Shamir Bless, do you think the 40-year loan is a good idea? I did some calculations for a 30-year loan and a 40-year based on the dollar amount. I would get $50 more in cash flow monthly, and I would pay interest for 10 more years. So at $50, it's not to me. Yeah, at $50, it's not to me. I mean, the bigger thing is that let's say you had to sell in 10 years, right? If you paid 10 years down on a 30, what cash position do you have on that mortgage? And if you paid 10 years down on the 40, what would your cash position be on the mortgage? I'm pretty sure the first 10 are interest only. So it would basically be exactly the same. So I think you did the right thing, Shamir, by looking at both. I think that's what you always have to do. You always have to compare these financial instruments with each other to see if you're getting the bang for your buck. Is $50 worth it? Probably not, but only you can make that decision. Yeah. Keith Hager, when you do a value add, do start from the top and go down from the floor up? When you do a value add, do you start from the top and go down or from the floor up? Like when you're talking about like when I'm rehabbing the actual unit, or do I start at let's say it's a 3-floor triplex. Do I start on the 3rd floor and work my way down? I want to answer your question, so I just want to answer it wrong. Jenny Medina, congrats on the article, by the way. I loved it. Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks, Jenny. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a fun interview to do. Kathleen was really nice. I was a little bit nervous because we've all heard those stories about something being said, and there were a couple things that were, I think, would have helped people that were left out. But I was super excited to do it, and I think she did a really good job. So it was a pleasure to be a part of it for sure. Yeah, thanks. JC Blast. Hey JC. I was in NH recently for the first time. It was really nice, friendly people, stayed in North Conway. Very cool. Would back maybe in summer or fall. Yeah, Conway's beautiful. Lots of ski areas up there. There's a pizza place up there on the side of the road that it's like an old log cabin barn type of thing. You got to eat there. I don't remember the name of it because we always just go there when we're up in that area. So, and their food is to die for. But yeah, if you like skiing, all the resorts, yeah, I love my state. We can climb mountains an hour away. I can go to the ocean 15 minutes away. I can be in Boston in less than an hour. I can be at Logan Airport or Manchester Airport within an hour. I love what my state has to offer. So no plans on leaving. Crimson Knight 921. Lands are off because we don't know what we don't know. If I was just starting in Dover, I would assume 2,200, not 3,000, but now I know. Yeah. 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 I think it's again, a 10% increase in taxes, even if I'm accounting for that. If that's enough to shade you off a deal, then the deal is not thick enough. It doesn't have enough margin there. So I think that's right, Crimson. Nakodon. I love the binder strategy. Made me $1,000 per month in increase in rent last year. Yeah, that's awesome. Yep. Yeah, I think we went up a lot this year. I think when we kind of put all of our units through the paces, it was an extra, it was thousands a month, but we do that every year. We do that every year. Not usually we're kind of like, so Mike doesn't do it from the first to the second year, and we don't either. We want people getting comfortable and seeing if we like them. That's a big part of it too. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Give me just 1 second, guys. I know you're waiting on additional information. So real quickly, guys. So there is somebody in our real estate community. REI mom, Anna Kelly. I believe it's her sister-in-law, I think. So they don't have health insurance. And she's an amazing mom of I believe 4. It's either 3 or 4. And they don't have health insurance. She's going through it. She got diagnosed with cancer. And so Dustin Shin is the organizer for the fundraiser. It's on GoFundMe. I'm not saying that you should. I would just ask that you check it out. Having been, thankfully, we were blessed and had insurance with Eliana's diagnosis. But so for what it's worth, I would just go check it out, read the story. And if it speaks to you, feel free to give. And if it doesn't, okay. But I just believe it's important for people to help other people in a bad spot. And so we wanted to help her, and I just wanted to mention it. I just gotten an alert actually. And so, yeah, they're looking at massive expenses to manage her cancer. And so, yeah, I would just ask you to check it out. but I appreciate you guys checking it out. We always try and help out, those in need. Let's see. Crimson Knight, but you were right. I don't get landlords in Nashua either. A lot are asking less than the house. Similar 4-bed, 1-bath, 3 houses down for 2,100 when housing will pay 2,200. Yes, because they don't do the work. This is a big thing, guys. Like landlords don't do the work. I buy so many properties where if they had changed the rents to what they should have been, they could have kept the property and been making crazy money hand over fist. So yeah, it just absolutely blows my mind on that stuff for sure. Shamir Bless, do you have a problem with the bank selling your loan ever so often? No. Nope. My bank, so the small community banks, often you can ask them, how often do you sell loans? They very, the bank that I do business, or the 2 banks that I do business with, one of them, I've had loans with them for 12 years. They've never sold one of my loans. Another one of my banks I've done business with for 9 years, and they've never sold one of my loans. And I don't think they ever plan to. They like my loans. I pay them on time. It's a great asset for them. So yeah, nope. When I was with the big ones, the big banks, they have no problem selling loans off. Countrywide, Wells Fargo, Countrywide at the time, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Mr. Cooper, Citibank, Citigroup. Yeah, I mean, all of these banks have sold loans of mine before. I had one property, I think the loan was sold like 6 or 7 times in the 10 years I owned it. It was just a bundled asset that they could keep on repackaging and selling somewhere else down the line. So yeah, me personally, that's why I liked so much more. Yeah, for me, it was just, it was, I like doing the work with the smaller local banks, and I would ask them that question: are you going to sell my loans? What's the plan? What's your long-term strategy? And that's why I did business with those banks, was because they wanted to hold the loan. They're like, we want to be part of the community. We're in the community. We're of the community. They want to own stuff in the community and partner with people that are doing work in the community. That's where it's more their charter. It's not like the big banks where it's like, hey, that was one of 1,000 assets that we had. On the GoFundMe, guys, or Karen, she did, I think, post it on her Facebook. If you're looking for the actual GoFundMe page, it's sorry guys, give me just 1 second here. It's under Dustin Shin, Shinn, Dustin Dustin, and last name is Shin, Shinn. Read the story there. Yeah. San Antonio, Texas is where they're out of. And I'm pretty sure it's on Anna Kelly's page. REI mom. Yep. Yep. Jenny Medina. If you haven't hit the like button, don't forget to do so. Hey, thanks so much. Matt shares such valuable info. Let's help reach more people. Thanks, Jenny. I appreciate that. Yeah, we absolutely do. In fact, I think we've gotten Evolve's got a message, but it's big. Karen, you're very welcome. Yeah, like I said, I no guilt there if you don't give. I had to give. I felt that I was supposed to give. And so if you do, like I said, read the story. I always try and put myself in the other person's shoes. And if we ever got that news that, Ashley was sick with 3 young kids and we didn't have insurance, that would be really hard, really hard to hear and to take. So anything that we can do to help encourage them, even if it's just what they asked for, which was, if it's some funding, but if it's also just prayer, I think is huge. It's huge to be able to help others and in their time of need, for sure. All right, so we're basically through we're basically through a lot of the questions. Don't worry, I'm not going to stop. Unless you want me to. In that case, just jump off. But I wanted to take you guys through my latest deal, share the numbers with you guys, because I know how much we love numbers. And like I said, I won't share the overall portfolio, but I'll certainly share your deal by deal. So, so current deal, it was a 600K, 6-unit. And the breakdown was one bed, 3 2-beds, a 3-bed, and a 4-bed. Yeah, big house, our big building. It's about 6,000 square feet. You guys saw on Instagram, Lumberjack Landlord, at Instagram, or at Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram. Easy for me to say. But you guys, excuse me, saw that picture there. That's the backyard, actually. Really just very cool, awesome spot. So I bought it for 600, 20% down. Actually, now that I think about it, I think it was actually 25% down. So my numbers are going to be high. But that's fine. We'll use them I already built out everything. So the difference between 20 and 25%, it was another 30,000 bucks on a $600,000 deal. But my mortgage is, and these numbers are going to be high now because of this, but that's okay. Higher is better as far as more expensive. So current $3,400 is what my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is going to be, is $3,400. And so it was $3,400 taxes, interest, and insurance. Expenses on this building are very high. They're $1,200. The landlord paid heat and he paid electricity. Major no-no, because I drove by and there's 3 air conditioners. There's 3 air conditioners hanging out the windows. How stupid is that? Like this company was not managing those tenants. That's so shame on you. So all in is $4,600 a month. The current rents there are also way under market value. They are very low. Current rents are $6,725. So with a $3,400 mortgage, $1,200 a month in expenses, $4,600 a month is total net. $6,725 is what the current rents are. So above and beyond. So that makes $2,100 a month. So 2,100 on the 120,000. So it's 25,000 and change. 25,000 and change on the $120,000. So it's about a 20% return, right? So, so that's about a 20% return on the capital. Now, that's current. So if we go to the cost cutting measure, so I looked at all the numbers and there's a number of units there that are so underpriced that they absolutely should be paying their own heat and hot water. And so I can cut that expense easily from 1,200 down to 400 easily, like breaking sticks, easy. When those leases expire, most of them expire in the next 90 to 120 days. That's the first thing that that's one of the first things we're going to do. That cuts my costs from 4,600 down to 3,800 a month. Still on the same income of 6,725. I just went to 2,925 a month of income. So, multiply that out. Now that's $36,000 on 12 months, 36,000 on my $120,000 investment. Now I'm at 30% return on my capital. That's not even where the most fun here comes into play. I always, because I know my market and I know what my market rent should be, I'm looking at what the rents are that they're currently charging. I put 10,000 bucks in the bucket to say there's 10,000 bucks worth of work I'm going to do with this place. A lot of it's like paint jobs here and clean up this and clean up that and, repair this and fix that. But 10 grand, I can probably make it through the entire building for make ready costs. The big difference is we go back to the core number. $3,400 is what my 30-year, or excuse me, I'm not 30-year fixed rate debt here. I am 7-year fixed rate debt. So $3,400 there, $400 in expenses. I'm still $3,800 a month and what my total costs are going to be. Section 8 rents. This is my base that I will always use for rents because worst case scenario, I can get Section 8 rents. I can get market, which is more than Section 8, but let's just be conservative. That's what I am. I want to be conservative. Rents conservatively for these 6 units are $9,200 a year, including nothing. $9,200. So this is how lazy this landlord. He's owned this building since 2015. A bunch of these rents he's not raised. And he's had people move in and out. They were just a lousy landlord and a lousy property management company. And so, guys, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at now 3,800. My Section 8 rents, market's probably 10.5, maybe 11. But let's just say it's Section 8 at 9,200. That means I'll make $5,400 a month. Now, I know 1 or 2 of these people are actually on Section 8, so it's just a matter of a letter to Section 8 saying this is what it's going to current market rents or Section 8 rents. And I know a couple of these others are so far under market. It's just going to be doing the binder strategy and saying, do you want to stick around? And let's work with that number. But market is here, so I know that I can get them to at least what Section 8 would pay, which just puts them on par. So my profit goes from $2,125 a month with the current situation, which is a 20% return on my capital, to $5,400 a month, which is about a 2.5 increase. But within 12 months, I'll be $5,400 on my $120,000 investment. And so that's 60 and change. So I'll be a 50% return on capital in that deal. So yeah, that's the newest deal that I just did. And I had brokers calling me on deals that were like, oh, this one's 500K and the rents are, 3,600. And I was like, those numbers are garbage. They're garbage. So yeah, there's been a bunch of garbage deals in our market recently. And, again, just have to keep on pushing and hunting and looking everywhere and making phone calls. And yeah, this deal is off the charts. This deal is ridiculous. This deal is absolutely ridiculous. And plus there's that unbelievable view, which I'm going to try and put together a plan to see if I can put a couple condos right there overlooking the water. And then, yeah, who knows what'll happen there, but gorgeous. I've been after this property or watching this property for years and just couldn't be more thrilled that it's ours. I'm just super thrilled. Yeah. Chris Webb, checking in from Central Virginia. Hey, Chris, good to see you. Yes, I am feeling better. Thank you very much. Yep. Evolve Properties. In speaking with management company, it was pointed out that your lease is coming to an end March 31st. Current market rent for an apartment of your size, amenities, and location is approximately $1,500. You've been an excellent tenant, so we want to have you stay. We want to have you stay in our rental moving forward. If you intend to renew for another year, what rent amount would consider being a fair compromise? Yep. In today's text email world, this is a variation of the binder strategy I've used successfully. Evolve Properties, exactly right. Exactly right. That's basically what we put together with them. Because we don't go and present the binder in person. I know Dion does. But that's basically exactly what we send. We'll send them an email or just, say, hey, can you give us a quick heads up? What's your email? That way we can actually send them an email with that. And the only thing that we'll usually do, Evolve, is we'll actually cite a couple of the addresses. So that way they know we're comparing apples to apples. So that's usually what we'll do. Yeah, that's usually what we'll do. So yeah, love it. But that's exactly it. If you guys want to know how to raise rents on a place, there you go. That's a perfect packaged way to do it. We do that quite often. So that's yeah, well done. Yep, well done. Karen Mulder, have to run. We'll listen to the rest later today. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate you hanging out with me. Shamir Bless, local banks finance 6 units. That's commercial. Yep. Yeah, of course they do. They have a commercial lending department. Sure do. Yep. They do. This local bank does 10 and $15 million projects. Yep. Yep. They've done a hotel. They've done, yeah, they'll, yeah. Yep. Sure. The other thing that they'll do too is if they like a deal from one of their customers, but it's more than what they would want to lend against one specific asset, they'll actually reach out to other banks they have relationships with and say, hey, here's the deals, here's the details on this deal. Do you want to come on with us? And basically, so I've seen deals that were $50 million get funding from 4 different banks because different banks took different chunks of the deal. So yeah, happens all the time. And Shamir, I'm not going to use you as an example because that's not my point in what I'm trying to do here, but I want to kind of have people open their minds to, we always have these ideas or predispositions as to what banks will do or what they are or how they handle themselves. Make the phone calls. Make the phone calls. Talk to people there. Talk to people there. Ask them what type, ask them the types of deals that they won't do. I worked with a bank. I have 4 loans with one of my banks. And before I yanked all those deals, I said, what would you guys do with me if I wanted to refinance all of them and do some cash out? They came back to me and gave me this garbage product that was like 3 years fixed, adjustable for 4 more. Like it was such a garbage product. And I just said, I really appreciate you guys doing that. But that's not a product that I want to sign up for. So I'm just going to refinance it elsewhere. They're like, okay, we understand. I said, no problem. So that, I mean, if I had done that deal, I would have been crying, but I refied those 3 deals, or we left 1, but I refied the other 3. And I think we did like maybe got $300,000 or $400,000 in equity pulled out and started a new 30-year fixed rate debt, 4%. So yeah, it's a really good deal for us. Jerneil, what are some of your favorite real estate investing quotes? I really like the real estate is the clothing that financing wears. That's pretty good. I'm partial to my own quote. It's just math. It's just math. I think people way overcomplicate real estate investing. I think it's just math. I don't know. I'd have to think about some quotes. I don't know. I watched Mike's and my very first interview from December of 2019 or 2020, December of 2020. And we talked a ton about doing the work. It was do the work, do the work, do the work. So we talked a ton about that on that video. Yeah, other than that, maybe not. It might not be directly correlated to real estate quotes, but I don't even know who said it, but I like to make money when I sleep. And I'm not that good of a sleeper, but I just like to get paid while I sleep. And so obviously a lot of properties do that, right? You're sleeping, they're sleeping, but you're getting paid to sleep. So I like that. Chris Webb, I have a 3.25 on a cash flowing property that is in Virginia. Okay. Oh, that is VA. Okay. Sorry. Yep. Veteran. Yep. Thanks for your service, Chris. Should I cash out refi at a higher rate? How high would I expect the investor rate on the new loan? So Chris, I would make all those phone calls. And so, yeah, I would just make all those phone calls. Because if it's a single family home, it really just depends on what you're doing with the cash. What are you doing with the money? What are you doing with the money? The only reason I did a massive cash out refi is because I believe that pricing is largely, I think pricing is not the highest it's ever going to be, but I think that pricing is starting to, trajectory is starting to, and velocity is starting to slow down. I think that rates are the best that they're going to be for a very long time. So for me, it made sense to say, now's the right time to cash out because the values are very high. The rates are very low. It gives me the payment that I'm going to have if I can get 30-year fixed rate debt. And that's why we just refied 9 properties. The properties that we just refied, the 9 properties, I think it's important too, just to kind of give you an idea of how well we know our market. So when I started the process in December, we just closed last week. When I started the process in December, it was, I guessed that we were worth 4.1 million on those 9 properties. And that was the package I put together for the bank. I said, I believe it's worth 4.1 million. And they said, okay, we'll appraise everything. So they went out, they appraised everything. And it appraised for 4.31 million. But that $210,000 is actually, when we looked at the numbers of what the market shifted to from December to now, it basically had picked up like 180 grand or something. So I was basically off like $40,000 on 4.1 million. So like a couple of percent, or 1%. So, and that just comes from knowing the market. And so I provided the appraiser with all of that information, all the rents, all the everything. And this appraiser was spectacular. I mean, to his credit, he went through everything. I've read a bunch of the reports. I haven't read all of them because I still have a concentration issue, and a retention issue with my mush brain for right now. But he did an amazing job, super thorough. And so, yeah, I would hope to get that appraiser every time because he was just very, very good and thorough. He did an amazing, amazing job. And I've worked with him a couple of times in the past. He just continues to impress me. He really does. He did a fantastic job. Yep. Nikodon, I like playing with the house's money. I have zero of my own cash in any of my own properties anymore. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Zuber's the same way. I think we're we're definitely there too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't think we have any of our original cash in any of those buildings, in any of our buildings. I think it's all house money right now, which I love. I mean, who doesn't love it? All right, I'll go 7 more minutes. 7 more minutes. That means I went a couple hours today. Not the 3-hour stamina that we're used to. But that's all right. We have Dion for that on Tuesday nights. So Tuesday nights, guys, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, a blast to hang out with, lots of fun to listen to, always comes prepared. Great stories. He is 7 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday nights. And then we have 3 Amigos on Thursdays. And those get released Thursday night and Friday. And then Saturday live streams, Mike Zuber, 8 a.m. Pacific, and his daily financial news. All that stuff is good stuff. It's all stuff I watch during the week. Trying to think of who else. I do watch some other channels, not a lot. I haven't been able to. Niles Patel. Hi, Matt. Hi, Niles. Thanks for coming and hanging out. So for those of you who are new here, super excited to have you here. Matt, aka the Lumberjack Landlord. We talk about real estate, in case you couldn't tell. That's what we spent the last 2 hours talking about. Share with you my deal and all the numbers. We have one more deal closing. I think in 2 weeks. Excuse me. We have one more deal closing in 2 weeks. And then I haven't written any offers since the end of January. No deals. We'll find some. Chris Webb, great COMT. Great comment. Amy? Yeah, Chris, I mean, 325 on a cash flowing property is just beautiful. That might be the case if, if you can find maybe a HELOC that you can get against that one, because I wouldn't want to touch that 325 rate. I mean, you might be able to get lower, but it might be the lowest you'll ever get, It really, it's too hard to say with the uncertainty of things. If war hadn't broken out with Russia and Ukraine, I think we'd be in the mid twos, and they'd be doing a half a point raise. So with the Fed, that's what's scary. Oh, great content. Thank you. I would definitely reinvest in real estate. Yep. Just not sure about how the rate will affect my current cash flow. Might wait until June to refi. So run the numbers, Chris. Definitely run the numbers. That's what I do with all of my deals. There's no point, no matter how large you get as a real estate investor, that you don't run the numbers 10 ways till Tuesday. So I would look at, your 30. I would look at a 30 year. I would look at a 40 year. I would look at, I would look at all the angles. Make sure you understand what you're getting for rent. What's the likelihood that can go, can that go up? Will that go up? How much will that go up? I scenario analysis my deals. That's why with this deal that I just did for 600, I knew what an absolute just light show that deal is going to be. That deal is going to be just a light. I mean, yeah. So if you've got a 325 on a commercial, on a residential property that you own, that is cash flowing nicely, I would look at doing a HELOC against it potentially. Again, all the downsides to HELOCs, which is it can disappear, they can shut it off, all of that stuff. I just think that there's opportunity. There might be opportunity, and yeah, I would be very hesitant to touch 325 money. I don't have 325 on anything. My lowest mortgage, I think, is 399. I think is my lowest one. So 325 is amazing. Keith Hager, hey Matt, I was talking about a single family home. Okay, I understood the obvious things need to fix first. Okay. I wonder if you had a specific property process to schedule contractors on your value add properties. So yeah, so on those properties, so we will demos always first. Not try to be a jerk. Yeah, but demos always first for us. So we demo and then we have the walls open and everything. So we really have all the contractors look and see what they're dealing with. We have a first initial walkthrough, which is we get our demo quote, we get our electrical quote, and then they look at number of devices, our plumbing quote, kitchen quote, sheetrock quote, insulation quote, flooring quote, roofing if it's needed, paint quote for interior, appliances. So we go right down through it. In fact, I'll try and share a spreadsheet next week for you guys. I'll share a spreadsheet. I'll show you exactly what we look at when we go into a property. And then we get our quotes associated with everything. That way we know what we're looking at. And then there's the different gotchas, right? We look at the electrical guys and go, hey, if we have to gut and do all new Romex, what's it going to be? However, there's some places that have like BX wiring, which is the good wiring with metal wrapped around them. I don't replace that. That wiring is fantastic. It's really good. Older Romex, I don't replace Romex just for the sake of replacing Romex. We get rid of the cloth. We get rid of knob and tube. We get rid of all of those types of things. So as far as scheduling them, so I used to get pretty much any project done in 30 to 60 days. I can't do it anymore. No, I can't do 30 to 60 days anymore because there's too many issues with materials, with other guys working on other jobs and them waiting on stuff. I have a lot more what are called dead days where nothing gets done. I ordered windows and siding. I first did the roof on this building in December. My windows and siding are still not in. Supposedly, I'm going to have an update Monday for my windows and siding. Now, if those are in, the guy won't do the work next week. He'll do the work the following week. But then at that point, I've got a complete envelope outside, windows, doors, roof, siding, all that stuff is done. And then I can now go about doing the inside, gutting the electrical. I didn't want to do that with everything else in flux. And there's been some issues with people getting in that building. And so we don't want to do that until we have 100% outside completely wrapped where we know. What about ungrounded BX wiring? Oh yeah, well certainly that stuff goes by the wayside, Crimson. Only if it's ungrounded. If it's not ungrounded, we leave it. And not all BX is ungrounded. So I do have a specific project process, Keith. I'll share that spreadsheet next week on our live stream. And I'll even take you guys through it so you can see it. And then I'll make it available to you. I'll put it on my website, Lumberjack Landlord. Yes, I'll do that for you. Shamir Bless, is cost segregation the reason why a lot of funds and Wall Street companies are rushing to real estate? After 2027, I wonder what will happen to cost seg. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Shamir Bless, thanks very much. I think that there's a lot of reasons that real estate or that Wall Street is doing it. I think it's because A, they have cash. B, they see that there's going to be a turn in the market. And I think that they realize that they can get fantastic returns on housing. I think it's because you can really move the needle when you can buy 2,000 houses at the same time. So I think it's a lot of reasons. And I think that they look at a lot of their returns and rentals, single family rentals are doing very, very well. So yeah, I think it's a lot of reasons why Wall Street is looking at it. Yep, I do. Build to rent, another one for sure. Yeah. What about not and tube, knob and tube, KNOB? Yep, and tube in the wall. Do you replace those as well? 1000%. Yeah, knob and tube is very difficult to get and keep insurance with if you have knob and tube. It's very unsafe. The way that people splice into it, it's very easily can cause a fire. It is just nasty, nasty, nasty stuff. I don't mess with knob and tube. As soon as I find it, I rip it out. We always rip it out. Yep. We always rip out knob and tube. Yep. Because I have a situation where I'm buying a property and the electrical was updated, but the wiring in the wall wasn't. Ooh, yeah. Knob and tube scary. Yeah, knob and tube is scary. You definitely don't want to splice into it. You definitely want to get a quote for. They usually won't replace the knob and tube in the walls because it's expensive and difficult to get to. So that's something to really consider because knob and tube is a big deal. A lot of insurance carriers won't allow you to have knob and tube in the walls. Yeah, they'll actually deny your coverage. So check into that, Shamir. Wouldn't want you to get got. But yeah, it's just something you have to account for financially. So one of the things, so if there's a unit here in this building I just bought that has knob and tube, it's going to be about $3,000 to get rid of it. And so we're just going to go through and get rid of all of it. Yep. Keith Hager, spreadsheet would be fantastic. Yeah, happy to do that. I'm subscribed and look forward to it. Cool. Thanks. 45,614. Thanks, Keith. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if I can beat 45,614. So it's awesome. Guys, thank you so much for the questions and coming and hanging out with me. I can definitely feel it. Need to get some water. But was awesome hanging out with you guys again. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. And like I said, live stream for Dion Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific. Mike Zuber, one rental at a time, Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, and Three Amigos Thursdays. And then we're going to try and do a Mr. and Mrs. Lumberjack this Thursday. It really just depends on Eliana's schedule. So it was awesome hanging out with you guys again. Janet, always nice to talk to you and have you text. Appreciate you guys. And have a fantastic week. Don, you as well. Thanks, guys. Take care.